Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Inga Cotton. I'm the founder and executive director of San Antonio Charter Moms, and these are Charter Moms Chats, and we are in the thick of enrollment season. So we're talking about charter schools in San Antonio that are starting their open enrollment periods for the 2022-23 school year soon. And today we're featuring Great Hearts, Texas, which has many campuses in San Antonio, including a new campus coming to the northwest side. And we have Great Hearts, Texas's expert on enrollment with us today. So April Hufty is the Director of Auxiliary Operations for Great Hearts, Texas. April, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. Okay. So, can you just briefly, in a nutshell, describe what is Great Hearts, Texas? Okay. Go ahead.
Yes. Well, Great Hearts, Texas is a classical curriculum based academy. We have several in San Antonio and North Texas, and 7 sites here in San Antonio. And our mission is also creating virtues and values in students, and teaching that student and scholar as a whole person.
That's wonderful. Oh, I should mention as a plug for the blog. So sachartermoms.com, we're featuring the updated Great Hearts Texas enrollment guide blog post today, and it's all over our social media. So there's lots of details in there, and lots of links. So I'm a big researcher, and I think a lot of Great Hearts families are as well, or potential Great Hearts families. They like to read stuff. So there's lots of good stuff to read in the enrollment guide. But with April, what we want to focus on is like the how-tos about the enrollment process. And also April is a Great Hearts parent, so she can share her experiences as a Great Hearts parent. So, okay, so first, April, I want to ask about your role as Director of Auxiliary Operations. So you work with a lot of different campuses, and you help specifically with the enrollment process, right?
Yes. Yes, enrollment is one of the areas that I oversee. And what I've seen in my role is that all kinds of families from all different nationalities and cultures want to be a part of really seeking out this unique classical education that is deep in literature and text. And that is exactly what Great Hearts offers. Like you mentioned, yes, I'm a parent and of 3 girls at Great Hearts, Monte Vista South and North. And my children have learned so much, not only a love of reading, but have learned history through novels, and learned what is just and unjust, and building upon the foundation that we as parents are trying to create and instill in them. And I'm just overjoyed that my kids have the opportunity to be a part of this education, and something that me and my husband didn't have and wish we had. So I'm just thrilled that it's also something that is for every child. It's available for every child through a very fair lottery system, as fair as we can make it. So I can certainly talk about that for sure.
Yeah. Well, that's what's to me so amazing about the rise of classical education charter schools, and that it was something that used to be only in private schools, used to be very expensive, and now it's something that it's in a tuition-free public charter school. So it's open to every student, including students with special needs, students who are English language learners, and they're spread out across the city. So it's something distinctly different than what is being taught at traditional public schools. And I'm a big believer in pluralism in education, that there should be lots of different school models out there. And the role of SA Charter Moms is to describe and explain and get the information out there in an easy to understand way. So families, when they like, when I first heard about, like, it's a charter school, they focus on a great books curriculum, I was like, that's amazing. It's like, I mean, I was a history major in college. I chose Trinity University so I could study liberal arts. And because I wanted to have a grounding in, in history. I took history in all kinds of different areas. I wanted to learn writing, and like especially persuasive writing, and how you can use research to build a strong argument. And I did that because I thought I wanted to go to law school. I did. I actually didn't want to be a lawyer. Turns out I founded a nonprofit. But that really, like, studying the liberal arts really laid the foundation for what I do. It makes me more effective in what I do in my job. And I'm driven by wanting to do good. I want to help families. I want to help children get a great education. And so the mission of Great Hearts of right, it's giving students this grounding in literature and history, so they have those tools so they can make good arguments. They understand the context of why things are the way they are, and then they can go out and do good in the world because they spend time talking about right and wrong. That's really a wonderful thing.
Yeah, I have a 15-year-old at Monte Vista North, and she has in going through the literature that she reads, really struggling through it, and it's through the struggle that you learn so much, and how to have discussions with other classmates. Just that's a constant thing. And she's like, oh wow, they saw it totally different, this particular text, and so then that opens up her mind. And then I find that she has really deep conversations about other things, that she just has that skill now to be able to discuss with me, or whoever. And so it's just a valuable just skill to have as she's growing into an adult. So yeah.
Yeah. Well, are there like traditions or like fun events that they have on campus that you appreciate as a mom, that kids, like, we're doing advanced curriculum, and they're reading, whole books, and doing advanced math, but they have fun too, right? They do cool stuff on campus.
Yeah, well, they just did a homecoming, and that was a really neat thing because there's just different guidelines that you would see at Great Hearts rather than another ISD or whatever, in terms of clothing and in terms of appropriate dancing. And it was a swing dance, and it's like, when else do you get to do that? And she gets to do that at Great Hearts, every year that she's there. So just learning how to square dance and learning those things, that's the most recent thing that she just really benefited from. It's just really enhanced her life, and that's a different culture that you're not going to find everywhere.
Yeah, no, it's fun. Yeah, it's right. It's not the same. I think that's the important thing. Is I think I encourage families to do research about Great Hearts. Like, look at the list of books. Maybe do a school tour. Well, I guess we'll get to that with more details. But like, Great Hearts has a great reputation, but it's important to understand just how different it is from what's happening at traditional public schools. But like you said, it's preparing your daughter to make listen and reason and refer to text and just think in a different way than what you might expect young people to do these days. Okay, so I want to ask you more about I want to ask you about the new campus that's coming. So, and this is where I get to play with my banners as well. So, but okay, so I'll plug the blog post again. There's a list of all the campuses, addresses, where to find them, school report cards, things like that. But the new campus is Great Hearts Invictus. So tell us about that.
Great Hearts Invictus is going to be popping up over there, Bandera and 1604 area. It's a great location. We have a lot of families interested in just currently on our wait list in that area, and so we're very excited to serve more students. We're expecting to enroll 700 students, so that will serve our current wait list in San Antonio, just in San Antonio, is 3,600 students. And so this is another 700 students that we'll get in our schools, and we'll be able to serve these families and grow our community through this rich curriculum and culture of virtues, if you will.
Yeah. So now remind me, what grade levels will Great Hearts Invictus serve when it's open? Is it K through 7? K through 7. Okay, great. Okay. And yeah, so in the blog post it explains, so like Monte Vista and Northern Oaks are K through 12. But the other campuses like Live Oak, Forest Heights, Western Hills, they're still growing. They'll be K-12 eventually. And I think they'll have 9th grade next year at those.
Yes. Anyway, Western Hills, Forest Heights, and Live Oak, all 9th grade next year.
Yeah. That's really exciting. And every year there's a new crop of graduates and a new list of the universities that they're enrolling at. And it's really exciting to watch the growth.
Yeah, we're growing really fast, and it's neat because it's more opportunity than ever to get into a Great Hearts school, because it used to be very, very difficult when it was just Monte Vista and Northern Oaks. But now we have Western Hills and Forest Heights and Live Oak, and now Great Hearts Invictus. So.
Mm-hmm. And not as far a drive, because
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
know families who've driven in from many different counties to get to Monte Vista. Yeah, and they won't have to drive as far.
Yes.
That's right. Yeah, and the northwest side of town, kind of that Bandera 1604 area, that's a very fast growing
Yeah.
part of San Antonio. So
Very
you can
dense
see why,
area for sure.
yeah, why there's a lot of families looking for that. Okay, so I'm gonna before we wrap up, I want to make sure we cover like how families can research about Great Hearts, and then also more about like the enrollment process too, because like there's different categories and priorities and things like that. So I don't know, which part of that do you want to tackle first?
Yeah, we can talk about how the enrollment season, the 22-23
Okay.
enrollment season that we're going into. Let me start with that. We're excited. Open enrollment is just right around the corner. It's November 8th through December 10th. Open enrollment just means that period of time. And that period of time, we collect those applications, and all those applications are eligible for the lottery. So anyone applying during that time is eligible. And this is something that families, sometimes families don't quite understand. They will stay up till midnight trying to apply on November 8th. And it really doesn't matter whether you apply on the first day of open enrollment or the last day. Those are collected and randomly assigned lottery numbers during our lottery in January. And otherwise, it wouldn't be a true lottery, would it? So then after December 10th, we start post-open enrollment, and those applications are time-stamped in order up until the first day of school and beyond from whenever you're applying. So beyond that, it is important to kind of get it in as fast as possible. Our lottery is January 12th. We will run it and immediately send enrollment offers. Every single campus will send the bulk of their offers in January, and then another wave in February. So then beyond that, we will send rolling offers to as people might change their mind, or we'll do re-enrollment in March, and that will indicate who's returning and who's not. And if spots open up, then registrars will send offers to fill those seats up to the first day of school and beyond. Beyond the first day of school, we still send offers, because we do have those cases of no-shows or whatever. So families may not get an offer right away in January and February, but you can always log in to your parent portal and know exactly where you are, live data in our enrollment system to know where you are on the wait list. It takes about 5 minutes to apply. So you just go to our website and click apply now, and that will take you to our new platform. We have a brand new platform that we're launching. We're very excited about. It is going to be completely paperless. It takes 5 minutes to apply to multiple locations. Let's say you're willing to drive anywhere. Then you can submit an application for your scholar to multiple locations, and then kind of see where you land with the varying academies. Then after the lottery, we'll do our registrations, and that is paperless with our new system, Schoolmint. And I saw you put the banner up there, Inga. Yes, that is great. You will need to wait to apply until November 8th, because it is closed until completely opens. But if you go to that website, you will see our landing page and some information there with a video and a picture, and whatever other information is on there, as well as our enrollment policy information. You may be interested in, we may have a lot of families ask about employee priority or sibling priority or transfer priority. And that is ironed out in our enrollment policy, which the link is there that you posted. Thank you for that. And that really irons out any of the questions that we get quite a bit concerning, what those priorities are. So, and you asked, Inga, about research. What do I need to do to research a Great Hearts Academy? And, I encourage, families just to seek out our website. We have endless resources on our website, from academics to academy life to what do you need what do you need in order to be prepared for the first day of school, like uniforms and school supplies? What is it like? You can see all of that on our website. So that's the first place I would start. Beyond that, seek out, call the school and ask what tours they have available. The tours are the most insightful and enlightening for parents, because you're really seeing inside the classrooms. You're witnessing what the teaching is like, what their environment is like, what the playground looks like all of those questions that you might have. Where are they eating lunch? As a parent, you want to know that information, and you can get all of that in a tour, as well as asking your questions to headmasters or your campus leadership. Super valuable. And then other than that, talk to another Great Hearts parent. They're walking advertisements for us, just because they believe in our mission, and they're advocates for Great Hearts, and we are a community of people that love each other and believe in the same mission. And then Facebook would be my last. There's a ton of resources on Facebook. Each campus has their own Facebook. And for example, Great Hearts Invictus, that website is up now, and they just had a wonderful Facebook information session with the headmaster, who is a veteran headmaster and coming from Western Hills to launch this new campus. And Mr. Ellison also spoke in that information session with just a ton of wonderful information about that. So those are the places I would research. But one thing I want to mention is just that sometimes you can't get all your research done before open enrollment. And so if you think that you might be interested in Great Hearts, go ahead and submit that application. And then you can continue your research in the spring. And if for whatever reason, Great Hearts isn't, the best fit for your family and your scholar, then you can pull your registration later, and then the offer will go to another person on the wait list. So I just wanted to mention that it's super important to apply during open enrollment.
Yeah. Oh, and I saw a little message popped up in the chat. Are there info nights coming up in November?
Yes.
So open enrollment starts November 8th, but then, so what's happening on November 16th?
November 16th, every academy is going to have an information night where you can go in, and I believe there's a website, if we can find it too, that has, I think it's 6:00. You can go, more information will come. We'll have emails going out. And you can go to any campus at 6:00 on November 16th, and the headmaster will give a tour, and you can meet the teachers and leadership.
Okay. Well, yeah. Great. Thank you, April. So I'm so excited. Andrew Ellison was able to join us after all. So I'm going to bring him up on screen.
Hey,
Andrew, you get to
you
have
got
the big head. Here we go. Okay, so so Andrew is in Dallas for the Texas Charter Schools Conference. Is that correct?
That's right. Yeah. Sorry, a
Yeah.
little bit late. This hotel up here is just gigantic. I was at the wrong end of it, and then I had to go back and forth, and it's huge. Inga, are you coming up here for the conference?
I am joining virtually.
Doing virtual.
Was not, yes. So the good news is my husband got a new job, but we didn't know that. And so anyway, so yes, for light, I missed the in-person conference because
So,
I've always had a good time.
so this is all that I'm going to get to see of you at the conference in the next couple of days. We'll have to milk it. We'll just have to get as much as we can out of it.
Yeah, well, I did submit 2 virtual sessions, so I hope you can check those on the program. So yes, SHR Moms contributing on the topic of sort of parent advocacy, along with so my co-presenter was Brady Chadwa, who's Texas advocacy manager. So Brady and I did a presentation talking about things like the parents who stood up for Great Hearts Online at the legislature over the summer. Amazing advocacy work by Great Hearts parents during the 2021 legislative sessions.
For sure.
Multiple sessions. And then I also did one about the sort of storytelling about schools, like through like sharing lesson plans as at-home learning. So so SE Terminals is virtually present at the conference. So
very good. Very good. All right. Well, it was funny. I got as I was driving up here, my phone kept giving me reminders about this event. And the invite was connected to the address for your office, I think. So it kept telling me you only have 3.5 hours of driving until you get to the location, right? Not knowing that it was virtual, thinking that I had to go to your office for this kind of thing. But anyway, I'm just so happy to be here. I love talking about Great Hearts. I love being in schools. I love being with kids and being with teachers. So just so happy to be here.
Yeah, well, so Andrew, the part that I was especially hoping you could talk about is like, what is classical education? And April spoke about that as from the parent perspective, and we talked about how like her daughter gets to read texts and participate in Socratic seminars, and it's shaped how she makes arguments, whether it's about something at school or something that she notices in the world, and that she has a kind of maturity about how she handles text and reasoning that you don't often see in public education these days. So I was wondering if you could talk more about that.
Sure. Yeah. There's one way to think about classical education, which is just sort of defining it in terms of what it is not, right? It's very different from, for example, STEM education. It's very different from college and career prep, just sort of narrowly or strictly conceived. It's certainly not science and technology, specialized kind of education. A classical education is broad, is humane, and classic. To put it in other words, right? It's by saying it's classic, the emphasis is upon old things. Emphasis is upon history. We certainly teach science, but we want to teach about the history of science also, the history of mathematics, as well as just learning how to do math. Ancient Latin and Greek are 2 languages that we teach in our schools. Latin is required of all, the language of the ancient Romans. It's again something old. We teach classic books, great books, especially in our high school program. Most of these books that our students are going to be reading were not written in the 20th century, certainly not in the 21st. A majority of them written before the 19th century, in fact, right? So a Great Hearts classical education certainly looks to the past. It looks back to the classics and looks to the great legacy of science and knowledge and discovery and wisdom in our Western heritage. And when I say Western heritage, we mean something very big, something very broad, and something very inclusive, right? It's the history of the continuous interplay of civilizations that starts in the ancient Middle East and Africa, thousands of years ago, a civilizational conversation that continues around the Mediterranean, Greece and Rome, and then a civilizational migration that happens as the English and Spanish and Portuguese languages are brought to this hemisphere. So, classical education looks at old stuff and looks at it specifically within this broad context of Western civilization. There's a lot of art and music in our schools. There's a lot of drama in our schools. These are not elective subjects. They are taught to every student. Every student has to act and sing and has to learn a foreign language and has to draw and paint. The fine arts are not extras. They're not specials at Great Hearts. They are required core subjects for all students. You see an emphasis on things like penmanship, not screens, not tablets. I know we're talking on screens right now, and we can't live without those tools. And we certainly could not have lived without those tools during distance learning. But the heart of a Great Hearts education is paper, pencil, desks, and books, right? Our kids are going to learn cursive in the elementary grades, and we hope that they'll keep that alive as they move into high school and adulthood. Our students memorize lots of poetry, classic poems written in English, many of them, most of them before the 20th century. They recite sometimes 8, 12, 15 poems a year of various lengths, classic American and British poetry. But we're very strong in maths and sciences as well. A majority of our students, above the national average at Great Hearts, go into STEM fields in college, right? Turns out that getting a broad, humane, classic education in high school is great preparation for going into a pre-medical field or an engineering field or IT field or something along those lines. So that's sort of a little picture of classical education. It's not like the regular stuff, right? We're not aiming at career success. Although if we do our jobs well, if we educate our students classically, they will have the skills for college and career life success. We're certainly not an accelerated program that's only for the gifted, although gifted students will find themselves challenged and nourished here. We are a broad server of the public. Our students come from a variety of socioeconomic and ethnic backgrounds. Great Hearts Texas as a whole is majority minority population in its student body. We look very much like Texas in the 21st century, although we're proud to give an education that would not have been out of place in, say, the Philadelphia of the 18th century or the London of the 16th century to our students as well. That's sort of the classical tradition.
Well, Andrew, I'm so glad that you could, navigate the hotel and get online, because that's a great description of. I hope that gives parents, families, a taste of what classical education has to offer, and I hope that they continue to do research. And so the blog post has links to things like the list of classics to keep for Northern Oaks, and links to, like, on the Great Hearts America website, explanation of like the pillars and what the virtues are that they want to educate students on.
Yeah. I mean, if I can just, for people who aren't necessarily going to click the links, I'd love to just name some of the great books that all of our kids are going to be reading. They're going to be reading some of Laura Ingalls Wilder's Little House books. They're going to read Greek and Roman and study some Norse myths, Native American stories, Chinese and Indian myths and legends. They're going to read Tolkien. They're going to read Beowulf. They're going to read Shakespeare, Chaucer, To Kill a Mockingbird, The Chosen, that wonderful coming of age novel of Jewish America from the middle 20th century. They're going to read Narrative of the Life of Frederick Douglass. They're going to read multiple speeches by Martin Luther King Jr., by James Madison, by George Washington, Andrew Carnegie, Abe Lincoln. So many good words and speeches from Lincoln. They're going to read Willa Cather. They're going to read Jane Austen. They will read Hemingway. They will read Ray Bradbury's Fahrenheit 451, Homer's Iliad and Odyssey, Dostoevsky's Crime and Punishment and Brothers Karamazov, Dante's Divine Comedy, Augustine's Confessions. I'll stop right there, but it's a pretty deep list of books that our scholars will read. A wonderful world of stories, novels, prose, and did I mention philosophy? Right? They will read political philosophy by the American founders, the authors of the Federalist Papers. They will read moral and political philosophy by John Locke and Jean-Jacques Rousseau in high school. They'll read Aristotle and Plato, those two seminal thinkers in the Western and really in the world philosophical tradition. And while that's what we do in high school, all the reading and the writing and the science and the math and the art and the music that our scholars are exposed to in the younger years, in the grade school years. And I certainly recognize that a lot of families who are tuning in to an event like this are interested in the beginning of their children's educational journey, the elementary, the kindergarten experience. Well, at Great Hearts, we like to say to parents, think about where your child is going to go. This is where we are going to take your daughter or your son, your scholar, from the world of poetry and penmanship and math manipulatives to the world of Latin and Greek, conversational and literary Spanish, Euclidean, ancient Greek geometry, advanced physics, calculus. We want all of our prospective families to think about the overall journey, the K-12 journey of a Great Hearts program.
Yeah. No, it's well, I was wondering if can you also comment as a Great Hearts parent, because you have kids in a variety of grade levels, and actually they've studied at Great Hearts in Arizona before coming to Texas as well, right?
Yeah. So my wife and I, we are all in, right? Great Hearts is our life, and our life is Great Hearts. Not only do we have 5 children enrolled in the schools right now, in grades 2, 5, 7, 9, and 11. My wife is also a 3rd grade teacher of Spalding phonics, handwriting, and history and geography at our Monte Vista South campus. So, it's a neat experience to see what this education does to your kids, right? It can manifest itself in many ways. One is, our 5th grader loves doing challenge math problems in his head. And he's not the only one in our family who's done this, right? If I throw a few math problems or we see some numbers on TV or some basic arithmetic at a grocery store and I throw a quick word problem at them, they love doing math in their head and love the excitement of whipping off an answer. Because the way math is taught at Great Hearts in the Singapore program in the lower schools, it really teaches kids how to manipulate numbers in their minds and how not to be a slave, a prisoner to pencil and paper and, I have to carry the 1 and I have to drop down the remainder and all that. No. That's the way I learn math. Some people don't do well with that. Great Hearts scholars learn how to do it on paper, but also in their head. So that's one neat thing that I've seen. My 7th grade son is always asking me to turn off the music I like and put on the classical music station. It's like, Dad, do we really have to listen to this? Can you please turn it to the classical music station, Dad? This is a little loud, right? So that's another way that a Great Hearts education might impact your family life. My 11th grade daughter loves coming home and recounting the interesting conversations that she's had with her peers about political philosophy or moral philosophy, questions like animal rights, politics, elected government, the Constitution, and whether it should be amended or changed or things like that. She's having intelligent conversations with her peers at lunch, at recess, between classes. Probably a heck of a lot smarter conversations than a lot of what we're going to hear on the so-called news channels on television, because our kids are getting trained how to think, how to use evidence, how to be intellectually humble, how to go, I think this is right, but I'm not certain that I am right. And I'm certainly not going to call you names because you disagree with me, right? Great Hearts kids learn how to read, they learn how to think, they learn how to speak right, they learn how to listen, they learn how to be civil, they learn how to be friends. Let me also talk about the sports, right? Athletics, such a rich part of the Great Hearts educational experience in the middle and in the high school. It's not always the case that charter schools are able to offer or commit or choose to offering competitive athletics. I've had 1, 2, 3 student athletes out of my children over the course of the years doing, early morning pre-dawn competitive swim team and swim practices, basketball, track and field. My eldest son was a hammer thrower. Dabbled in that just his junior year for fun to see what it was going to be like to throw the hammer. So the athletic experience is important for students at Great Hearts as well. Because our schools are small, it's not like you have to be the elite cream of the cream of the cream in order to participate in varsity sports. We're very, for lack of a better term, we're blue chippers at Great Hearts, right? Our programs, our athletic programs, take kids who maybe have interest and inclination, but maybe who don't, families haven't had the money to pay for club sports and private coaching for years and years. We're going to teach you the game. We're going to teach you the fundamentals, and you're going to get playing time because our teams are scrappy. Great Hearts Athletics is scrappy, but that doesn't mean we don't do well. Some of our sports, some of our high schools, swimming and cross country, for example, we're perennial powerhouses in that. Great Hearts schools punch above their weight in swimming and in cross country. Where, our Monte Vista High School has a few hundred kids in it. Our swim teams go up against teams from schools that have 2,000 kids and hold our own. So we're not just all books and scholarship and high culture at Great Hearts. We're also sports in a classic sense, where we're really trying to keep alive the ethos of the scholar athlete and the student athlete in our high schools.
And April shared about homecoming, since homecoming week just happened, and the kids had lots of spirit days, and they got to go swing dancing and things like that. Actually, let me bring April back on the screen as well, because I want to sort of start to bring this to a close. I want to give April a chance to kind of recap some of the advice about enrollment. So hopefully families have been hearing from Mr. Ellison about the richness of classical education, and now they are curious about the open enrollment process. So go ahead, April.
Yes, just to reemphasize, if you're interested at all in Great Hearts entering enrollment next fall, go ahead and submit that application during open enrollment, beginning November 8th and going through December 10th, and then continue your research through the spring. And we would love for you to be a part of our community.
Okay. And so on November 8th, that's when the School Mint link will go live, but folks can visit like a campus website. So for example, Great Hearts Invictus is the new, so pretty much any campus, it's going to be campusname.greatheartsamerica.org. And there's lots of information out there.
Great Hearts Invictus, named after a poem. Google the poem Invictus. It's one of the classic English poems of the 19th century. Take a look.
It is. It's very strongly written, and it's not like what you often find in contemporary literature. It's a good test of like, if the Invictus poem speaks to you, then you might be a Great Hearts family. If you seem puzzled by it, then
that's well said. Yeah.
Actually, so we had a comment pop up about special education. So I'll go ahead and put this up on screen. And Andrew, you want to take this?
Actually, I'd love to speak to that. So I cut myself a little bit short. My youngest child is very, very high special needs. She requires one-on-one support all day long for a couple of different conditions. Special education is something that has just grown within Great Hearts over the last 4, 5, 6 years here. We've seen our students with IEPs and other needs, right? A lot of we're serving more students than ever before with dyslexia. We're getting better and better at providing services, hiring trained interventionists, trained dyslexia service providers. But I would say we have a flourishing and thriving and teaming special education program operating throughout Great Hearts San Antonio, where every campus has a full staff to support all the students there on the campus, right? We mainstream as often as possible. We administer accommodations where needed for the good of the students. Our campus coordinators work with our teachers to train them in accommodations and in modified instructional techniques. So we service kids all over the map, from those who are, in wheelchairs to Down syndrome, lots of ADHD, lots of dyslexia, many emotional needs, emotional conditions. So we serve everybody. I just can't emphasize that enough. Great Hearts Schools serve everybody.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, well, do each of you want to offer just a brief closing thought before we close out the session?
April, you go ahead. First. I was just talking.
Well, I am just so grateful for you to have us, Inga, as such a wonderful opportunity to share what we're so passionate about. We love Great Hearts. Our kids are in Great Hearts, and we want to share that with others and grow our community. So thank you for having us, Inga. And we're just grateful that that more people can know about Great Hearts.
Yeah. Well, it's a really important. It's really important to me that Great Hearts and classical education is part of the landscape in San Antonio. That this choice is available to San Antonio, and like Andrew said, to be as inclusive as possible and serve as many students. But it is very different than what is offered at traditional public schools, and that's why I feel like what SA Charter Moms does is really important, because we're giving families advance notice about what's unique about Great Hearts, and I couldn't do that without participation from the Great Hearts team. So I'm really grateful for updating the blog post. April, you sharing information about enrollment, Andrew, you coming and sharing information about classical education, and then we can present the best possible introduction for families who are looking at Great Hearts.
Well, thanks so much for the opportunity, Inga, and we just are so grateful for everything you do to build a culture of informed choice amongst parents in San Antonio and even beyond, right? With choice, with freedom comes responsibility. And our community is just so blessed to have you organizing and putting all kinds of wonderful events and informational sessions together so that parents can make the most informed exercise of their freedom of educational choice, which they are so blessed to have.
Yeah, thank you. And it does, I strongly believe that it rests with families, that families should be able to find the education that fits their kids the best. And for a lot of families in San Antonio, that's going to be Great Hearts. So I encourage them to find out more. And like April said, apply and then keep doing your research, because it's best to apply during open enrollment. So, okay. Well, great. Thank you so much for joining me. And I'm going to drop this video into the blog post so folks can continue to enjoy it. So thank you so much.
Thanks, Inga. Bye-bye.
Thank you.